order.
Okay, so I will do a quick roll call for the commissioners who are present. Commissioner Cubine?
Yes, here.
Thank you. Commissioner Hesseltine?
Here.
Thank you. Vice Chair Jenkott?
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Orencia?
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Stanley?
Here.
Thank you. Chair Anier Strickland?
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Thompson?
Present.
Thank you. And Commissioner Burnsworth?
Present,
Thank you.
finally.
Okay, I'll turn that meeting back to you, Commissioner Burnsworth.
Okay. I get the genesis of this meeting was after all the discussion about community oversight and whether we should take a stand on the issue one way or the other. Beatrice and I both kind of felt that the role, and again, this is Joe's opinion and nothing more, that the role of the HRC should be one of neutrality, and that perhaps our best role in this is to bring diverse audiences together who have a stake in this situation and have an open forum discussion about these issues. How can we as a community come together, be better together, and address the obvious, at least what are more obvious to me, situations that are existing in our community, and help people kind of talk through them, because it appears to me right now that we have a lot of people talking at each other, not talking with each other. And I know the Pastors Roundtable has talked and given feedback, but I'm not sure, and some other audiences, but I'm not sure that the community at large has been involved with these discussions. And so that's kind of where the genesis was, whether it is appropriate for us to host an event like that. Where would we do it? How we would do it? And that it be moderated by someone objective, not just kind of an open mic thing, but with guiding questions, where people can discuss, hopefully rationally and intelligently, the issues that might lead to some solutions and partnering around the issues that are facing our community. So that's where my brain was, and Beatrice kind of agreed with me, and so Sylvia said, let's have a meeting and talk about this through forums and discussions. So that's where we were. So, or at least Beatrice and I were. So Sylvia, I don't know where to go to from here, other than open the mic up for discussion.
Anyone have any thoughts or questions? I see a virtual hand up by Vice Chair Jenkott. Vice Chair Jenkott, your mic is open.
Thanks, Dominique. Hi, everybody. So yeah, this is really great. And before COVID, actually at the end of March, the Forums Committee, Beatrice, myself, Sylvia, Francis, did I say Teresa? Did I say that twice? And Tommy. We've actually outlined a presentation on talking about race. So we kind of have a starting point for that. I like what you're saying about the questions and having those roundtable discussions. So maybe that's like the first step. But how do we always ask, how do we bring more people to the table? Francis and Teresa, what do you recall, and Tommy, about our previous discussions? Thank you.
Any, Francis, Tommy, or Teresa, any, okay, I see a virtual hand up by Commissioner Cubine. Commissioner Cubine, your mic is open.
I just remember that Beatrice already had in mind some speakers that she knew and thought would be good. Now that I remember that, but the forum was going to be human rights and race relations, I believe. And when Joe was talking, I had stepped out of the room. Were you suggesting that we focus on that, or in general, the conditions and the situations, in our city with, what's going on at the beach? And I missed that part. Were we still talking about social justice and race relations?
I think that was that was the topic that initiated the discussion, and I think it's the elephant in the community.
Yeah.
That we need to work around. And it was what Beatrice and I talked about was less presenters, but more discussion. Francis and I years ago did this type of thing with the school division where it was, and we helped. And I know that's where the genesis of her conversation or her thoughts were, where we allowed people to talk around guiding questions, and it really opened eyes and thoughts. And that's kind of where my mind was going, with far less in the way of presenters.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. I know when we did those little 3-second or 20-second presentations, I had recommended that I had stated in one of mine that I thought it was the responsibility of the Human Rights Commission to bring together community groups to discuss that, issue. And so I think that's very good. I guess you have to decide what community groups you bring together and that sort of thing. As far as the oceanfront, I had thought that if we should be talking to some of the faith communities, because there are a bunch of them along the oceanfront, and we always need to get more into their being more responsible about issues, and because I'm talking about mental health too, but that's a thought.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Cubine. Commissioner Thompson, I see your virtual hand is up. Your mic is open.
Yes, I was listening to Joe also and Ginger, and I do remember the program that was planned before the COVID, had to be canceled because of COVID. And I believe it was a panel discussion with, like he said, guiding questions and allowing them to have some discussions. And as Joe says, we go back, a long way, back in 2008 through like 2010 or so. And we were having these conversations, and they were facilitated. And it was almost like a fishbowl kind of thing, where you experience people having these kinds of conversations and talking about, the difficult things. And I think the panel was a good idea. I want to say, and I hope I can speak candidly and openly, I just sense that there's resistance by many community members to engage in conversations. I think we are so polarized now that, everybody's afraid that it's going to turn into a fray or something, and we're kind of backing away from the idea of just having honest and open and frank and candid conversations. And that's distressing to me, that we have, we can't get to the place where we can just sit down and talk, and people don't think it's worthy or worth the time, or what does it get you? It's just belly aching, and, but it's so much more than that, so much deeper than that. And, while a panel discussion, with a diverse panel who have different thoughts and different opinions, I think that would be a great start. But we in our city, and I don't know if it's the Human Rights Commission that should lead this charge, but we've got to bring people to the table. I mean, there's no other answer. We can skirt around it and protest around it, and we can do all but there's no getting around it. If we don't communicate, we can't find common ground. It's as simple as that. And I would love to see the Human Rights Commission head that charge and lead that charge. Not that you would be appreciated and understood, and it's not going to be fanfare and we'll get a parade and medals and everything for this kind of work, because Joe and I know both that that work came with a lot of resistance. It wasn't appreciated, and but I think it was beneficial, especially for certain of us who were participating. So I guess the bottom line is, I know what we had on tap. Ginger said we did have a program in March of 2020 scheduled, and it was a panel discussion with several panelists from across the region who were going to have questions, and we invite the community. It was going to be and we could go back to that place. But my point is, at some point, we're going to have to pull key stakeholders together in a conversation, whether it be private or public, but there's got to be communication, or we're going to be at a stalemate and we'll just keep experiencing the same Groundhog Day. It's just going to keep going on over and over again. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. I have a virtual hand up by Vice Chair Gincott. Vice Chair Gincott, your mic is open.
Thank you. So I believe that we, as the whole commission, because we did vote on several things moving forward on the first forum, is behind us doing this type of thing. So that's an assumption that I'm going to go forward with. As Joe raised, we have two basic questions to answer, which are: who are the groups, who are the people, the audience, and then what are the questions that we talk about, and whether they're generated from us as starters or from others. And then Francis also talked about, or alluded to, how do we get the people to the table? We're a big organization and have high visibility, and so we typically do things in a very formal way, which is a forum, and that was very formal, and we didn't always. Sometimes we're preaching to the choir, which is good because all the people in that choir have their little groups that they go back to and can help, and we inspire the choir, which is great. Let's inspire the choir. But if we want to dig deeper, one thing that I did as an administrator with when I worked for 4 years at Holland Elementary School and 4 years at SeaTac Elementary School was to, on Saturdays, that community couldn't come to school. They didn't have transportation. They didn't have the technology. On Saturdays, we would go out to the community with a tent, with food, with people, and actually have conversations and discussions in their neighborhoods. That's much more informal. And I don't know, I'm just putting it out there that if there's something in between having the formal, like what we've done at the convention center and at the MOCA, and getting into a neighborhood, and let's tap this neighborhood and see, maybe there's something that we can put on the road maybe 2 or 3 times. That's way out of our parameters or our comfort zone and our box that we've been in. But I'm just posing some things, different ways for us to think about it. And I don't know if it helps at all. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Gincott. Okay, did anyone else have any? I see real hand up by Commissioner Stanley. Commissioner Stanley, your mic is open.
Sorry, folks, I'm having trouble because I'm on a different device trying to figure out how to get my hand up. But I really appreciate the historical context of the conversation. Do want to just add in there that, these are the kinds of, this is what building bridges of understanding in the community was all about. And we did that for, as a format for well over 2 years, and did exactly what you're saying, Ginger. We went out to the community And we invited community in to talk about what they saw as critical issues of human rights in their city. What were their concerns? And Joe, I am going to disagree with you on one thing. I don't think the Human Rights Commission can be neutral when it comes to human rights. So I think we have to remember that that's our wheelhouse. That's our that's got to be our mantra. We can certainly be neutral in inviting all parties into conversations, and yes, the goal of having all stakeholders. And I also want to say that we may not see all the results yet because I think we're in the middle of it, but that pastor leader community police relations table that meets in Western Bayside in the Lake Edward community is exactly what we're talking about, and it exactly came from the forums that built the concerns of the community. And then what we did was we promised the community that if they had these concerns and human rights were at stake, we would be part of remedy. We would be part of staying with them while they continue to have whatever, as Ginger would say, whatever actions or ways to move in their communities, we would be partners with that. And that's what our work of, the immigrant work that we've done with the schools, certainly the police relations work. So I guess I just want to affirm that this commission has been doing exactly that, not as maybe as strategically as we might have written down, but that's exactly what the forum format was before we went to the more formal presenter format. And then I think we were coming back before COVID started with something a little bit like what Ginger's talking about, something in between, which was bring the concerns to the community and really just be trying to get more turnout and more input from them. So I do think, that table that we put together has been moving for 6 years now. It has continued to hold the tense conversations with not all stakeholders, but certainly community stakeholders that are affected, as well as police leadership. And they're still working to bring those stakeholders together, so that their work is still happening, as well as others like the roundtable, the mayor's roundtable, which is a little bit different format. But so I'm here to tell you that I think it's working. It's still in process. It's still struggling. It's still fragile, but it is working. And so I'm not sure the CRB discussion is the kind of thing even though it's an elephant in the living room, Joe, it's an elephant that's kind of been dealt with. We now have, there's now a task force that's moving. There are other efforts that are, to include some General Assembly input and other, things in the community that are happening. And so I'm wondering if our work should be, to kind of continue what we've always done, which is have those conversations. And Francis, I thought the fishbowl example was a great idea, because you get people having a dialogue that other people can fishbowl and see, and they're people that are in and of the situation who can give some real education and real 360-degree perspective. And I think that's the kind of thing that would really the community and ourselves as human rights commissioners, we would really benefit from, because a lot of these issues, we need a lot of due diligence to see what works, how it works, why it works. And we're looking at, for new ways, and best practices. So that was very long-winded, but I feel like I have been really, really invested in this particular issue for a long, long time. So thank you for giving me your time.
Thank you, Commissioner Stanley. Okay, I have a virtual hand by Commissioner Burnsworth. Commissioner Burnsworth, your mic is open.
Teresa, I agree with you, and I think perhaps you misunderstood me. My thought was never that we should be neutral about human rights. What I talked about being neutral on was when the Community Review Board issue came up, and we talked about whether we as a Human Rights Commission to take a stand on it or not. That's where I thought, no, we don't take a stand on that. We bring people together to talk about it. That was just one example. And I agree with you. I think the Pastors Roundtable is a great model, but it's happening in one place. and it's happened and it's bringing people and it's making a difference. Those types of conversations either need to happen in more places, like you talked about, or on a larger scale. That's what Beatrice and I were talking about, not saying, okay, whatever human rights is up, but if we talk about, and it's far more than that now, we have the brutalization of our Asian American community. It's bigger than one topic, and so that was just the genesis of our thought. Not that that's what we need to focus on, but that one topic, because you're right, it's moving on. And but I just think that larger issue of race relations, and it's just not African American and white, it's not just Asian American and white, it is race relations. And that round table that is happening in Bayside would be a totally different conversation where I live in Bay Colony. So I think that's why we need to bring communities together that are diverse to talk about those issues, because I'm here to tell you that in my neck of the woods, people don't see that there's an issue of racial inequality. They just don't. And that needs to be brought to their attention. That needs to come to the surface. And I'm sorry I have to say that, but I look in my neighborhood and that is the truth. And I read that thing next door, and I read the comments on there that come from my area, and I am appalled and angered about some of the comments that come up. And so that was my genesis, and I agree with you. And Frances aged us when she talked about 2008 when we were doing that work. Thank you very much, Frances Thompson. But I think that it worked well, and I just want to see things like this, like what's happening in Bayside, go to other neighborhoods and bring in these people who think things are fine and have their head buried so deeply in the sand.
Thank you, Commissioner Burnsworth. Commissioner Stanley, you see your hand is up for comment.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe. I couldn't agree more with all of that. And I do want you to know, though, that the table, though it is made up of lots of people that are living in the Western Bayside and Lake Edward area, because they are the ones feeling this pain the most. It is also it includes members who came to those Building Bridges of Understanding forums, and they said they cared about this issue because they heard the perspective shared and wanted to make a difference, be a part of making a difference. So all I'm kind of doing is affirming that model. And I know we got away, and I'm sure the chair's thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to get right back to where we were with Building Bridges, which then gave us a work plan. And I know we ended up with a work plan from it that none of us were really ready to take hold of. But we did. We found a way to take hold of the issues they brought forward. And in some cases, like that particular table, it continued because there was so much work to be done. But yeah, those, and I can't remember where the Building Bridges of Understanding format came from. Sylvia, could you maybe tell us where that, I know Jim Park and Cliff Rice were, at the forefront of that, but, I'm just saying we might want to kind of revisit that template, adding these other concepts. But all I know is when it was done in different places in the community, although we put the Renaissance Academy as a site because it kind of was central, but we had the conversations in other arenas too, and we deliberately went to different communities, as you said, Joe, to draw those communities out.
Thank you, Commissioner Stanley. And I see a virtual hand up by Chair Nair Strickland. Chair Nair Strickland, your mic's open.
Right, Jack got to me some of your notes now, but Teresa, yeah, the building bridges of understanding. Originally, it started out as a theme for one of the award ceremony, and then it turned into, I think right before you came, it turned into, I guess, kind of like a committee. But then we decided that building bridges of understanding is what we do, and it became a definition. So we were trying to, yes, in the work plan, put the work that's being done in some sort of category so that it can continue on as something a little more organized. But I was listening, so we don't get misunderstood. The forums and the community dialogue they've been going on together. It wasn't one or the other. We had community dialogues. As a matter of fact, a couple of the commissioners went to Ohio for training, and I forget the name of what it was at that time. You know, there's always a big popular name for dialogues, and they went to training over a year to continue the community dialogues. And we had community dialogues and we had forums that were mostly informational. So I think that the two aren't exclusive. And the other thing was, I wish Ron were here because he talked a long time yesterday about, as Francis had said, it's not just we're not just divided with thoughts or feelings about race relations as our race dictates, but within the African American community there are different aspects. And what I would like to see, because a lot of times we do get the same people with the same, I guess they're carrying I guess a flag or a banner of doing something that's affecting everyone globally. And a lot of times, a lot of our community dialogues and forums started as what Ron had said, starting from the other end. Like right now, I don't know that the IRP or the Citizens Review Board, whatever it turns out to be, necessarily needs our attention, but he was saying, like, with what he's doing, I think I had the flyer sent around about going into the communities, getting them jobs. He said he was even going to, they're working on trying to get them transportation to jobs and childcare. And so, you know, I'd like to see some dialogue with people. Like Ginger said, they used to go into the communities. We may not necessarily have to go in and set up a tent and be there, but to get some people from the communities where their biggest, I guess, issue is not whether or not we support the Citizens Review Panel with investigative powers. Theirs is like, you know, how can I get a job and get to work? And does that make the race relations better within the community? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it seems like we get the same group of people in a forum and we all listen and the same people attend when we could attend. And so we're kind of preaching to the choirs of all the people that are supportive of race relations. And I might be babbling also, but I just wish he were here to explain what he was talking about. But he kind of feels like there's a whole group of the African American community that feels like we're working from the wrong end, that pushing with the spending all the time with the Citizens Review Panel, that's at the other end of the problem. And Francis, you had I forget what you had said, it was about young Black youths that we're losing them in the academic world. Can you remind me what that was that you call it and what we need to focus on?
Well, you said so much, Sylvia, that really, you know, is impactful. Because I think maybe what Ron is saying, that, you know, you can legislate and you can make rules and you can have committees and task force, but the hearts of people have to change. And you know, we won't need a Citizens Review Panel when we have a community of people who are working together. I'm not saying won't need it, but I'm just saying it wouldn't be of the same essence if we had a community of people who came together, understanding one another, respecting one another, and, you know, we've drifted away from that. And I think that's what Dawn is saying, that more important than the legislator, more important than the citizen review panel, more important than anything else is that we figure out a way to bring our community together. And I don't know. And when you talk about academically, I mean, my issues are with the achievement and opportunity, gap that we have in our nation. That's been my mantra since 2008. Joe, what can I say? I mean, we've been crying, we've been on this field since 2008 when the data came out of the schools in 2008, and it was glaring. And it showed that there was a difference between the achievement of Black kids and and all of their other counterparts. Black kids were failing. They were reading at several grade levels below. They were being disciplined. They were put in special ed. They were not graduating. The data was glaring and it was embarrassing. And the City of Virginia Beach schools decided we've got to do something, but we have been following in that vein since 2008, and when we tried to bring people to the table just to have conversations about it, that's when I was saying we just found so much resistance. But I still say that I really feel so strongly that that's where it's got to start. We've got to bring the two, fields of thought and opinions and attitudes. We've got to bring them together so that it, in somehow that we can see and respect, one another. So I don't know. I'm trying to figure out also what Teresa is saying. Teresa, are you feeling like what you have in place with the pastors roundtable? Do you feel like that's adequate to meet the needs of what the city is doing, that the Human Rights Commission as a whole doesn't need to get involved in promoting the forums and dialogue and everything? I need a clearer understanding about that.
Commissioner Stanley, your mic is open for response.
Absolutely not, Francis. No, that it's one teeny little, move in the right direction. And where we need to go, like you just said, the education access equity issue is huge. What I'm saying is we definitely tackled that a little bit clumsily, I will admit, when it comes to the CRB, because it had been an issue at that table for a couple of years as we walked through people trying to go through the IRP process and the police and the community doing it together. And you remember it got tense when it, and there was this sense from the commission that table was doing something off to the side, or, at that time, Deputy Chief Sakaro had been having some trouble just trying to, grapple with the fact that this had to be dealt with, that. And so I think we got where we needed to be as far as, the community that was struggling the most with that issue, the people that were most directly impacted, were able to lift it, get in the real tense conversations with police, and then the way it broke open with all the other national agenda just pushed it, in a bigger way, faster. So that was one particular issue amongst many. What I was saying is, I don't think us then entering in to kind of maybe have that dialogue at this point, when that's already being had. There's a task force that is now going to be appointed and assigned, and they will do the due diligence to find the best practices and be, I feel like they're on their way. There still is much to be done in the way of community education and understanding. So you're right. I don't know what is most important, but as we're talking right now, when you talk about access and equity with education, that's another whole thing that's being played out right now, that right now is really burdening, especially people like you and Joe that are working with our school system, and me as I'm working with the immigrant community, where we're trying to turn it into a scapegoating critical race theory conversation that then polarizes, and then we never get the common ground of where we might begin to go, even though that's being worked on. And I think it's being worked on hard because of the elevation of the equity office and things that are happening. But that's where I see the Human Rights Commission being able to play a role. Where is it that those conversations and even identifying the problems need to occur. Where might we uncover that or assist that when it's in the lane of human rights? Not just conversations for conversations, but really deliberate dialogue and conversations. So and that's a long-winded way of saying that no, by no means is what that table's doing, everything we need around race relations. I mean, and it's not happening in enough places. I was just trying to make the point that we did our part to push the dial in the right direction through the lane of human rights and through our bridges of building better understanding conversations. And what we tried to do did happen. We did launch what we were trying to do, and it did continue, and it is continuing even still, and in ways that I think are very helpful and positive. Can we do that in other areas? I think we could. And I think what you've come upon is this courageous conversation model, which is very similar to building bridges of better understanding. It adds that fishbowl of that kind of expertise piece that then people watch and learn, and then they weigh in, and people can change their perspectives, and they can change their hearts. I'm just asking us to make sure that we honor that it's in the human rights lane, because that, if we're not doing that, then that's a huge piece that we would be turning away from. And by all means, in as neutral a way as possible, Joe, because that's the only way we're going to find common ground. And I'm way over talking. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so thank you, Commissioner Stanley. Okay, I have a virtual hand up by Vice Chair Gencott. Vice Chair Gencott, your mic is open.
Thank you. I'd like to defer to Sylvia before I speak, so put her before me.
Okay, Chair Nair Strickland, your mic is open.
I was going to defer to you, but okay. I just wanted to, what was it we were talking about? Oh, I had, Dominique dug out since the IRP came up, I just wanted to say that she sent that out by email, the links to when Regina made the presentation to City Council, and also when Regina came to the Human Rights Commission, there's a link and when we had the discussion with her about the IRP. And to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dominique, but it is a full functioning IRP at this moment with the expansions of what was in the realm of what the city manager and the IRP could do. Is that correct? I think
it's functioning as it previously was. It's just there have been some changes based on what the city manager can do without the approval of city council.
Okay, I just want to put that in there. And also, I love this dialogue. We could use this dialogue almost as an example for what kind of dialogue we need. And Jojo, you still there?
Commissioner Mencia?
No, I don't know.
I am.
Your mic is open? Okay.
Because I wanted you to, I know I have, and Jojo and I have talked because we've had complaints. There are local Asian hate, there's local Asian hate going on and threats. One of them, I spoke with a gentleman whose mother had been not just verbally accosted, but threatened, his mother twice, Korean, because she speaks with an accent. So, and when Joe says it's not just our race relations just isn't black and white, there's another aspect to it too, or other aspects. But I just want to throw that in. But I think what Francis said was kind of what Ron said, and I don't say it as well, but I think that's the direction that I think that Joe, you meant this to go, as much as an open dialogue, and we just need to come up with some sort of a format, how you want to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, just chime in real quick. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead, Commissioner Mencia.
Yeah, I mean, even today, just my roommate told me about an incident he had at a restaurant, and I told him how I would have dealt with it. They were young kids, sort of teenage kids, and in the teaching moment, I probably would have told them what they were doing, what they were saying was wrong. They were with their parents. He was a little bit surprised because it hasn't really ever happened to him, and only in the last month he's had 2 similar incidences. Not just isolated events where I think there is that kind of outward racism, you know. And I'm like, wow, and just like we talked about, it's not reported. I actually don't think it's reported very evenly by the media, you know. And I probably have a view that maybe people don't agree with, but I just think that, especially in relation to the Asian hate, a lot of it's happening out on the West Coast. I know that there's always been a divide between Asian and Black communities, and Latino and Black, and there's always different divisions, and I don't think it's properly addressed even by, say, Black leaders, for example, and the media. That's my perception, you know. But it's something we should talk about. That's why I do agree with Joe. I talk to people, I see them on social media, I talk to them all the time, and their perception of race relations or any of these number of things are way, while I don't agree with a lot of what they're saying, there is some validity to some of the stuff they are talking about. And that would be great if we could all get in a room, different perspectives, talking about those things. That's the only way we're going to solve them. You know?
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Rencia.
Thank you.
All right, Vice Chair Gencott, your mic is open.
Thanks, Dominique. Along that line, I have to share just a personal that 2 days ago, a friend of mine's close friend was beaten at night coming out of a gay bar, beaten. And I saw the pictures, and also that hate is still there. I mean, we have the panic defense, but we have all kinds of legal things in place, but the hate is still there. Okay, I had to say that and put that on the side. But you guys know that I'm like back to nuts and bolts and organizing and all. So do we can we find a direction here to move forward with some kind of a community conversation, pull in all the pieces that we know from building bridges, from courageous conversations, from community work that each of us has done going into community? Can we start to form something to move forward with an event, or are we still in the conversation stages? How close are we to starting planning? I guess. Thanks.
Thank you, Vice Chair Gencott. Anyone have any thoughts on that? Raise your virtual hand, or you can unmute yourself.
Since Beatrice isn't here, and like you said, I apologize for doing so much talking too, but since she's not here, I mean, I would like to review what we had planned. I think that was her plan, was once the pandemic, kind of gave way or gave us the opportunity, we would still have our program. But I mean, we could do it virtually. I wonder if she would consider doing the program that we had planned, just open it up again and either have it to be virtual or do it in person at the MOCA with social distancing, and or both. Live stream it and have it live at the MOCA. So I know that, I mean, the program was it was ready to go. I mean, it was all done. So we had to, shut everything down. So I thought the program was going to be great. It would have been an awesome start, a beginning, and it would show that the Human Rights Commission is weighing in on what's going on in our community. And I think that's what I'm a little bit embarrassed about, is that we're kind of, even though there are things going on, I don't know that they see the Human Rights Commission as weighing in on all of the things that are going on. So at least we would have put that out there and gotten a start. That's my suggestion, that the program that we had planned for March, that we either try to put it in a virtual format or do it live with live streaming online as well. So, and I'm done.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. I see a virtual hand up by Commissioner Heseltine. Your mic is open.
Thank you, Dominic. Francis, if I remember correctly, the program these are just my thoughts. The program that Beatrice that we had put together was going to be terrific. You're right. It was going to be Jackie Glass, if I can remember correctly. It was another person. And just food for thought or discussion. Are we in the same place that we were with these? Will that program resonate as much now as it would have a year ago, pre George Floyd, pre COVID, pre everything. So I think the speakers were fantastic. Um, I just, I personally would like to see some massaging of the content and to make it, because I mean, I don't know about y'all, but the world's upside down from what it was, a year ago. And I think to just to pick that up and take that program and try to fly with it now, I think it would fall flat. Excuse me.
Thank you, Commissioner
Thank you.
Heseltine. I also have a virtual hand up by Commissioner Stanley. Commissioner Stanley, your mic is open.
I agree that the format that we were going forward with was good, and the let us just go back. I agree with what Commissioner Heseltine is saying, and look at it from the standpoint of I'm also like Ginger. Let's get going because we do have something to add to the conversation. I might like us, especially I'm really very mindful and intentional about what JoJo and Ginger shared, and I've been also hearing in community things that are going on that are really, really abusive to people. We might think about the conversations of a courageous conversation around COVID and these times, and how do we examine the issue of hate and how it's being manifest in our community, and it does play out against all kinds of marginal populations. So and then maybe move in that direction. So Francis, it's kind of doing exactly what you said, but maybe broadening it to a discussion that has with the intention to get people to see from another's perspective what other people are experiencing in the midst of a lot of discrimination, fear, all the pressures and stresses that we're dealing with.
I think I don't want to be misunderstood. I think what I was trying to say was what we had planned was a nice package. Certainly, we would have to open up that package and make sure that the questions, the panelists, and all of those people that were going to be involved would be, appropriate for right now. But the place, the format, the way we had it, set up, I mean, to me, that was the way it's supposed to work. To have a panel of people and a moderator and, having questions and giving people an opportunity to write questions and send them up and to talk and just open up the discussion. I just thought that was a great thing. Now, I don't know that I remember, Lord help me, I'm aging. I don't remember all the questions that we may have prepared for the panelists. I don't even remember the names of the panelists. I just remember the template of how the whole thing was going to look. So I guess we could go back and look at it again and see who are the panelists, what questions, who would be the moderator, how many would we have invited, all of those things. But I just feel like that whole structure or template was what we could, not necessarily to take it and just, schedule it like it was. But of course, to look at it and look at the questions and look at the panelists and the moderators and all of that and make it ready to go.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson and Commissioner Stanley. Okay, I have a virtual hand up by Commissioner Burnsworth. Commissioner Burnsworth, your mic is open.
Something that Sylvia said really resonated to me, and it's been hurting my head and heart ever since she said it. And you didn't say anything bad, Sylvia. It's just, and that is, there is so much out there that I haven't thought about that are causing people pain, whether it is joblessness, whether it is the inability to get to work, whether it is I can't communicate with my kid's school, because they don't speak my language, whatever it is. I don't know that we are fully aware of the pain, as Ginger said, that's out there. So if part of that forum, part of that panel, part of that discussion can be identifying some of those issues that are out there that people that's causing that pain. And then we can build future conversations and critical conversations around those topics or those ideas that come up. I'm all for, once you unwrap that package and talk about other things, but I really think that needs to be a component, because I don't know what future panelists or conversations we need to have until this white face who lives in a white neighborhood, who has 3 degrees and an excellent retirement and good transportation, understands what's wrong. And even though I read and I watch and I listen, there's a whole world out there that's happening that many of us are unaware of because we don't live it. And I would like to hear about what's happening there. The education piece I get because I live that a lot. But some of these other pieces I just don't see and don't understand. And maybe collectively we all have that information. But I don't feel like I have, and I would like to get some of that as just one piece of it from the community. And I'm rambling on too, and I apologize.
It's okay. Thank you, Commissioner Burnsworth. Okay, I have a virtual hand up by Chair Nair Strickland. Your mic is open.
Now it's am I open? Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Joe. That was a perfect segue, because as far as the absolutely agree with Francis. It was a forum ready to go, and I don't think that we have to worry about bringing those people up to date or to massage the questions, because just bluntly, growing up here in the South in Virginia, I was treated as an African American. So I know nothing has changed for people of color. Nothing. Our perspective. We grow with what is around us and all of the activities that are going on. But the essence of where we are is what Joe said. It's the hurt. It's the pain that they feel all the time, that they continually live with. So if you have a panel of mostly minorities or people that are in touch with that kind of feeling, I don't think we have to so much worry about tailoring the questions. I think the pain is going to surface, and that's where you have to start. As a survivor of physical, emotional, sexual abuse, I can tell you that you don't start without starting with the pain first. So that will automatically be something that comes up in the forum. So I think if we start with as Francis said, the skeleton of where we are, that was ready to go, that I think we can look at the content, but remember the people that we've invited, those are the people that live the pain all the time, every day, and have been. And for a lot of them, even though everything looks like we've gone forward, I can tell you from a personal point of view, I'm back in the 60s. I'm back in the 60s where I was before, and nothing has changed for me. Nothing has changed where I was. I couldn't get married in 63, 64, 67 I could. One law changed and the hearts of people did not. So, and just as Ginger brought up, and I saw the young man who was beat up locally. I mean, it's unbelievable that it's happening in right now. So I think we're probably overthinking it. I think we do it. And this conversation has been great. I think it's been great that we've had these conversations with each other. And again, I say a lot of this could be part of the content of what we end up doing. So I'm with using the format that Beatrice had set up in her committee, and then fill it in and we can review it. But how do you guys feel about that?
I have a virtual hand up by Commissioner Stanley. I know you had it up for a previous discussion, and I don't know if you want to add to
I just want to say I'm very, very excited about it, but I just want to remind us that if we do break open that pain, which we've done, this is similar to what we've done in the past, we then, we say, at least in the past we have, that we will be part of the remedy. We will be part of being in solidarity and walking with you and figuring out how do we make inroads, whether it be, that's what our pastor community police relations table is. That's what the immigration work was in the schools when there's disconnects there. That's what the food security stuff that we're doing in neighborhoods like Twin Canals to make sure, so all those things are being done. And they end up on a work plan, and then somebody's got to either liaison with them or be a part of it or do. I just have to remind us that when we break that open, we either need to be clear that we're just breaking it open to break it open, or we do plan, as you said, Joe, to awaken and change our perspectives and then move to operate to be change agents, or at least sit in solidarity and do something, because it really, what we can't do for the credibility of our commission or for integrity is do that and then just leave it there.
Thank you, Commissioner Stanley. Okay, I have a virtual hand up by Vice Chair Jenkott. Your mic is open.
Thanks. So we probably should all cut ourselves a little bit of slack for COVID and a horrible year for all of us and our families. But I want to read part because we've got a clear path forward. And I'm excited. I'm going to read a little bit from the Public Forums Committee report from July 6, 2020, where we proposed to plan a virtual forum on race that could be taped and run on blah, blah, TV. We could resend the invitation to the speakers that had confirmed their participation with a new date and time. We can update the focus of the forum to reflect the issues we are confronting today. Racism as it impacts health, Black Lives Matter, and police, removal of Confederate statues. Those were the issues then. This is where we would tailor it. And we actually have the programs that they're already in their first draft. So we've got a clear path forward. So we just need to kind of line out a new timeline and some steps. And one of the steps I think would be to see how far ahead we need to get perhaps into MOCA, if that's where you want to go. I mean, I can go over and talk to Allison or give her a call and see what that looks like, and that gives us kind of a starting point, and we can work backwards from there. But I think we have a clear road ahead. So, for what it's worth, for planning purposes. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Jenkott. Okay, Commissioner Stanley, I see your virtual hand is still. Did you have more to say? Oh. Did you, Commissioner Stanley?
No.
Okay. See. Thank you. I have a virtual hand up by Commissioner Cubine. Commissioner Cubine, your mic is open.
I had to step out. I'm not sure if I missed something, but I think it's really important that we identify who the audience, how we can reach the audience that needs to come. Someone did mention that we might be preaching to the choir, and the audience, we need to reach the people that we think need to be reached, but also people that have an influence on other people. And I don't know how we do that, but I think, in order to really make a difference, you do have to reach people that we're concerned about, or people that need to hear this, rather than just people that already agree and already are knowledgeable about this. And I think maybe someone said that in the beginning, that Jen just said, that we have to identify our audience and see how we can possibly reach out and kind of get some confirmation that we'll have certain people to come. I also think it would be good to review what we did plan last year, and carefully before we decide definitely to go ahead with it. And it would be good if from that we could determine whether we need to have community meetings in the Virginia Beach is so huge, whether we need to try to be thinking about going to different communities.
Okay.
Is that
Thank you. Okay, thank you,
How-
Commissioner Cubine.
How would we identify audience? Get them to come.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Cubine. I have a virtual hand up by Commissioner Burnsworth. Commissioner Burnsworth, your mic is open.
Thanks. I just need to say I have another Zoom call waiting on me. And so I have to jump off. So I guess for me, the next step, we need to get Beatrice in this loop and tell her what's going on. And somebody else has to adjourn the meeting because I've got to go.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Burnsworth.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Have a good afternoon and a good weekend.
You too. Good discussion, everybody.
Thank you. Agree.
Okay, I have a virtual hand up by Chair Nair Strickland. Your mic is open.
Yes. What was I saying? Oh, someone had suggested that it was Francis, I think, that we do both. I think it's important that we continue the virtual part of it and the recording of it so that it can be replayed. And then that gives us a lot of options to replay it for different communities and different organizations. So I think we're good. Do you think we're good on the right road? Anything else that we need to do to pass on to Beatrice, other than if we could meet again, let her decide when we want to meet again and look at the structure that we had and massage it. Is that, Francis, does that meet with what you think we were going to do?
Yeah, I think that would work. I mean, I think all the things that we had, our goals and our objectives were pure. Our mission was clear. I think if we go back to that whole package and just look at it again, schedule some, like you said, to make sure that the panelist or whoever would fit, what we want to say and do right now, and schedule it. I think we're on track as well. And the streaming and I don't know about it in person. I don't know what MOCA would even allow. I mean, somebody's got to probably check into that and make sure that, they are open to having a group of people in their facility like that. So there's several logistic things I think that need to be checked out too. So, and if they are willing to come in person, I mean, there's some people who still feel like they need quarantine. So we need to check into that too. So all of those need to look. But I think our mission, our goals, the way we wanted to do it, how we want what we wanted to do. I think we need to get that back on the schedule, get back on the platform, and let's roll with that.
Okay, great.
All right, I have a virtual hand up by Commissioner Cubine. Commissioner Cubine, your mic is open.
Are we saying that we might have this live? Because I think that's so much more effective. And we have access to the Civic Center, don't we? I mean, we could space people, and it's expected that within.
We just
lost you.
Yeah, you're going in and out, Commissioner Cubine.
I don't know. What should I do? Can you
yeah, you're a little muffled. Do you have something over your speaker or your mic?
I don't even know where my speaker is, but no, I don't have anything over anything.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear
also,
you. Yes.
how I'm going to identify reaching the people that need to be reached, and not just people that support us. And I think that's a big issue.
If I had
of
a
how we
school
will
bus, I
reach
could
people.
drive it in. Yeah, if I had a school bus, I would do what I did before, drive it into the neighborhoods.
Go pick
And
it up.
come
pick
on
people
down,
up.
come on down. Yeah, that's what we
Yeah,
used to do.
right. Yeah, I don't know if we could specifically identify people and get people that represent groups and get a commitment, that they would be in attendance, and put it in such a way that they would want to come and, as kind of a representative of a larger group. I don't know, but
Well, one of our speakers was Amelia Ross Hammond, and founder and chair of the African American Cultural Center. And so she's got quite a reach. And so a conversation with her would be very good for drawing some more people out. But I'm afraid I don't know about going in person because of.
Oh, you mean having a meeting in person?
No, having the forum in person. That would be best, but
That's what I meant.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, it's not going to be next month. I mean, it's going to
no.
take a little while. And like I said, the Civic Center is very large, and it could be indicated that we'll have plenty of spacing, but
Yeah.
as we'll see. I got a dog that barks.
Thank you, Commissioner
Uh-oh.
Kubine. I have a virtual hand up by Commissioner Heseltine. Your mic is open.
Thank you, Dominic. I agree with Commissioner Cubine that I don't know what the, I mean, like Commissioner Jankowicz said, I don't know what the new ruling is or what MOCA is allowing and not allowing. I know that exhibits are open, but I would like to see it be in person. And even if we had a panelist, you know, we can put them apart. And even if we had to put the seating, 6 feet apart or whatever, it would show, it would allow people to be there in person. And as well as if we video it and send it out, maybe for a first time, that's all we can ask, is to be able to do something like that, then video it, send it out to communities that need to see it, and have it online. But I think maybe baby steps, because this is our first outing since COVID. So but I would agree with Commissioner Cubine. I would like to see it do in person. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Heseltine. Okay, anyone else have any other comments or discussion?
I got one more thing. Also, like I said, I know that Jackie Glass was one of the presenters, and I know her, and she also has a great podcast. So I'm sure she would also, she's got a great following. I'm sure she would hype it up as well. And she may even, interview one of the commissioners for her podcast. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Heseltine. All right, did anyone have anything else? Okay, someone gonna call, just Chair Strickland, did you want to join the meeting?
I think it's been a great meeting. Thank you everyone for the candid conversation and input, and we'll get with Beatrice, and since this is recorded, she can see the whole thing, and anybody else who wants to. So I think it's been great. Thank you, guys. I think we're dismissed. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.